Greetings, and welcome to my channel. And in this first episode of Everything's Internal, I will be discussing a life for a life. What happens in the spiritual realm when someone's life is taken by another person here on earth? It's been shared to me in a session that there's karma in everything that we do, so it's pretty much safe to say that there's definitely karma that has to be repaid when someone's life is short by another individual. How is the karmic debt of murder repaid in the spiritual realm? What happens to the spirits involved in the situation or the circumstance? I have an answer for you, but first I digress. Initially, my thoughts were to begin this channel slowly to ease the minds. But then I came to a realization that some people have a need for speed, and if you are here actually listening to this information, it definitely wasn't done by chance or coincidence. As if anything ever is such a thing called an accident. So I'm going to get right into it in a minute here, but I first have 3 questions, and my first question to you is everything energy? My second question is, how do you know what it is you don't know? And last but not least, do you know everything there is to know about everything? Now let's take a moment to really think about those questions. Let's have a moment of silence, if you will, to think. Really think. Now, since knowledge is infinite, we're all ignorant to something. It's been once said that a mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. Now, I am a past life regression therapist, and if this term is new to you, well, I'll explain briefly what a session entails. I guide my clients through a hypnosis. Usually the client will regress to different lifetimes throughout the session, to different lifetimes where the client's soul has been on earth before, prior to this life experience he or she is consciously aware of. Now, we have lived many different lifetimes, not just here on earth, but all throughout the universe, and the many universes throughout and beyond. With the numerous lifetimes one person may have experienced, I search for the lifetime or lifetimes that could be affecting my client in this current life he or she is living and experiencing now. Many of us living today are experiencing a situation or circumstance in this current life from an unresolved situation or circumstance from a previous lifetime. Now, I'll explain more on how this works in later episodes. However, this episode today will briefly touch on the effects of how your past life experiences could be affecting you now. Now, after regressing my client through various lifetimes, contact to the client's subconscious is made. The subconscious alone could be a series of videos in itself, to be honest. This is your connection to the universal mind, God, the Creator, whichever name you decide to use. This part of your existence is the spiritual connection to the Creator. This part of your mind is also learning, as I found out, just as you are. This is actually the part of your mind that has the answers as to why you are experiencing the situation and circumstance you are experiencing, because this is the part of you that's creating your life for you. So when we say things like, we speak things into existence, for example, this is the part of your mind that's hearing you, that's creating those words for you. Whatever you believe to be true, whether it's through your thoughts or spoken words, whatever you believe to be true, you will experience. It's the part of your mind that shows you the images in your dreams. It's in constant communication with you. It's all loving and attempting to assist you in creating the desired life that you would like to live here on earth. More of the subconscious in future episodes. I really wanted just to share the therapy process as a whole. First, the regression of past lives, then the contact to the subconscious is made. Now, prior to your true identity, which would be your spirit, enter into the body that you are currently using to live out this current life experience, you were in what I like to call the planning phase. And this could be the name of it throughout, on the spiritual side as well. But while you are in spirit, before your arrival on earth, you create agreements with other spirits that will be living with you throughout the lifetime you are planning, such as who's going to be your mother, who's going to be your father, who will be your husband or wife. Now, this can be done by agreement as well. Your children, friendships, sometimes even your enemies, brothers and sisters, etc. Now, this may give a different meaning to the phrase, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. From my understanding and awareness, you certainly choose them both. Now, not all of these relationships are contractual. Using the law of attraction, you could very well have drawn or attracted to you those individuals outside of your family with the thoughts you harbor, especially those relationships we find to be undesirable, ones we wish we never created, right? Well, these things are coming from you as well. But to recap, individuals that are involved in your life are either contractually obligated to live with you this lifetime, or with the use of the law of attraction, individuals are drawn to you. Therefore, in both cases, you have a considerable contribution in forming your relationships with each other. There are many schools throughout the universe, and Earth is one of them. Earth is a school. You come to Earth for several reasons, but one is for spirit evolution. We are all striving to evolve to become all-knowing as the Creator, to become one with the Creator. And with all learning processes, we all will have what we may call a good experience, or what we may call a bad experience. Nevertheless, it's an experience to learn from, as well as an opportunity for your spirit to evolve. Remember, everything is, just is, until the universal law of relativity is applied. Now, while in the planning phase, as I stated earlier, you have made your contracts and agreements with those spirits that will be living with you. Also in the planning phase, you choose the lessons you will be attempting to learn in the upcoming lifetime you are preparing to experience. As you can see, this is all on you. Now you have your agreements intact. Your lessons and purpose are set and ready to go. There's only one thing left to do, and that's preview the life you've just created. Yes, that is correct. You actually get to see part of the life you've created for yourself to experience. And you must agree. You must agree to live and experience the life you created for yourself. Often when I'm talking to someone, not often, but sometimes, we think everything is predestined, and that's not the way things work, actually. Now, if it's created on a spiritual level, if it's something that you must experience to evolve, then you will. I've had a session with a subconscious, and he said it doesn't matter how safe you are. If it's time for you to have a broken leg, they will create a broken leg for you in some way, shape, or form. That's part of what you need to experience to evolve. So those things are, some things are predestined, but the other things are created once you have the ability to think for yourself. And unfortunately, it happens at such an early age where you don't have any control over what goes into your mind. So part of it is predestined, and part of it is created once you have the ability to think for yourself. Now, no spirit or entity is forcing you to come here. Earth is a voluntary school. So when you hear someone say something like, oh, these kids didn't ask to be here, that statement couldn't be further from the truth, actually. The fact is, we have all asked to be here. No one forces you to come to Earth. I had one interesting talk with the subconscious one time, and he shared with me that we are all the same age because we were created at the same time. What makes us different is our experiences. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about children and kids. They're the same age as you in some sense. They're just beginning their life journey at a different time. Now, no one forces you to come to Earth. Just remember that. So to recap, in the planning phase, you create your agreements. You agree to the lessons you will be experiencing. You preview the life you're about to experience. And you must agree to live out that experience. Once your plans are set, you are ready for your Earth experience. Now, once those things are in order, your mother and father begin to do what we think here is creation, and I'll explain that later. Your physical body is then created. You begin living out your plans and purpose for coming to Earth. your plans are put into action. Part of your physical experience, your life is created and planned in the spiritual realm. As I said before, the rest of your life is created according to the thoughts while in the physical body. As your conscious mind begins to develop and you're able to make decisions for yourself, as I stated. Now, this is called your free will, your ability to reason, to think. That's really kind of an awesome thing because we get to make choices as humans. You have an ability to think. Not mental activity, to actually think here. And I think that's a really cool thing that we have that ability. Now, once the spirit enters into the body fully, your memory is erased. You have no conscious awareness of your plans. Now, we all have plans, and these plans are crossed by everyone else's plans as well. The crossing of these plans could very well cause problems and conflicts with others. When someone's life is shortened prematurely here, what we refer to here on earth as murder, the spirit or soul that was murdered and transitioned, well, their plans were interrupted. Now, early in the video, I spoke of planning your life. How, some things are predestined to happen to you that you chose to experience, and some things, well, the rest is chosen. The rest of your thoughts have order, and they are boomerang back into your life. In your objective world. I'll speak more on that later. But let me give you an example. Here's an example. Let's say, for instance, that two men were involved in some situation or circumstance that led to the death of either man at the hands of the other one. Now, suppose the spirit that transitioned or murdered from the situation was 18 years of age. And now, during his planning phase, he may have had plans to meet his wife, let's say at the age of 25, and he could have had plans to experience life as a husband, a dad perhaps. This could have been his first opportunity to have this experience. Now, all of the experiences that come with being married as a man and the experiences of being a dad, perhaps, basically they'll all be delayed for another lifetime. That interruption of his plans has a karmic debt that has to be repaid, and in the spiritual realm is called a life for a life. So here's the deal, and I need you to follow me with the spirit that transitioned and the one that committed the murder. Okay. Now, the spirit that was murdered and transitioned will actually wait for the spirit that committed the murder to transition as well. When both spirits are in the spiritual realm, the two spirits will meet each other again, almost like a reuniting. Almost like a, hey, you interfered with my plans. Those two spirits that were involved in the situation or circumstance will actually create a life together to live out, so that the spirit that committed the murder will actually have an opportunity to work off the karma from the murder. Now, the spirit that committed the murder has to give up a life, hence the term, a life for a life. Now, the spirit that committed the murder has to come back to earth and give up his or her life to the spirit that was murdered. The spirit that committed the murder will always be of a helping hand, you can say, or some assistance in the future life that they're creating for each other. Now, the spirit will always be a part of the spirit that was murdered. It would always be of some assistance or always be around when necessary or when needed. Now, this spirit could come back as your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, a friend, a politician. I've been told many ways. But that's the term, and this is the reason why it's called the life for life. There's so many possibilities, but most importantly, that spirit that committed the murder will give up his or her life to assist the murdered spirit in a future life. Now, this is not to say that the spirit will be waiting on you hand and foot. That's not the case at all, but the spirit will be there in general. I've had one case that I can recall off the top where I ministered a session some time ago when contacting the subconscious of my client at the time. Her subconscious shared with me that she was shot in the head in a different lifetime. And it was over some type of domestic dispute. I think her boyfriend at the time had been cheating or something. I can't remember totally, but When I asked, I said, well, is that person paying it back? And she said, yes. And I said, well, who is it? And this young lady that I had under, that was my client at the time, her husband, the guy she was married to in this lifetime, had taken her life and shot her in the head in a previous lifetime. So they agreed in the spiritual room to come back together and work these things out and try to pay back the karma. Thankfully, he's doing a good job. I'm not sure if he knows at all still, but these are how these things are paid back on the other side. You come back together and you try to work out the karma and you take care. Now, as a politician, I was told, a subconscious shared with me that what happens is the spirit will somehow be some effect in your life. It can't leave you in a lifetime. It'll be of some assistance. It could be a friend. It will always be there for you in a life. It's not doing everything for you because it can't, but it'll assist you. The subconscious that spoke of the politician, like this politician was able to change some type of law that assisted that particular spirit. Like say you're a serial killer, you had a group of spirits you have to come back and work that karma out with. Now on the other side, they can see ahead of time. At the time we're in a day by day, they can see things happening to us long before, or what's supposed to happen in the timeline. So just keep that in mind. I'll certainly elaborate more on seeing things ahead of time. But as you can see, it's a recycling of the spirits. You take someone's life, you come back and live a life with that spirit. When this was revealed to me, really all I could think about was all the killings that plagued the streets of DC when I lived as a teenager. I grew up in DC in the 90s, and it was pretty brutal. The murder numbers were brutal. Now you find out, for anybody that's, I'm beefing with you or I'm gonna shoot you over here, you actually come back and live with that spirit. So not just DC, but not to mention, all of the gang violence and any other murder for that matter. You're never really getting rid of the person. You actually will see that person again. Now, as you created your entrance to Earth, you also create your exit. Some people will plan to leave here in a brutal way. But the bottom line is, we are recycling spirits. So I created this video, and I wanted to start with this message here first, to think about what it is you're doing. That's how the debt is repaid. Now, I'm not making any suggestion as to how a person should live, because we learn through pain and we learn through bliss, right? Either way, there's a lesson to be learned. But if this information reaches one person that will cause them to respond to a situation instead of reacting, then it's a step in the right direction for me. That was the point and the intent of this video. I'm going to leave this episode with a session from Dolores Cannon's book, The Convoluted Universe, Book 2. This was a session she conducted. The young lady name was Ingrid, and it states, Ingrid works more with the whole energy and frequency system and brings the vibration of the divine love energy into their frequency system. By just hanging in this divine love, love permeates and supersedes everything else. It transforms and transpirates everything. Love is the most powerful force in the world. If people tell you the opposite of love is fear, it is not so. Love just is. Love has no opposite. Remember that, dear one. Love just is. It is the answer to everything. Everything. Wherever there's disharmony, wherever there's pain, whenever there's hunger, whenever there's sorrow, just send love. Not only to humanity, but all to life. To the rivers, the oceans, forests, to the animals, the birds, the bees, the air you breathe, to the whole cosmos. Because you are part of the one. We are all part of the one. There is no separation. This channel is created to enlighten, not to frame the masses. This won't be a place where you'll find negative information. So if that bothers you, I'm not sure if this is the right place. I'm really adamant about helping people understand themselves to the best that I can, to the best that I'm aware of. With that being said, I want you to understand the powers that you have inside of you. All right, you are special. There's only one you in the physical and in the spiritual realm. There's only one you. With that being said, you are responsible for you in all aspects of your life. You are responsible for your life. You are responsible for the things that are happening to you. You are responsible for your health. You are responsible for your wealth. You are responsible for your emotions. You are responsible for your relationships. Whatever you have or don't have in this lifetime is because you made it so. Everything is internal. Everything is internal.